Lynn, are
Okay,
you doing minutes this time?
well, that's the first question. Who's doing minutes?
Oh, probably my turn. I think you're right.
I think it probably is.
Yep.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Well, I will call the meeting of the Finances, Transportation Facilities Subcommittee of the Six-Town Regional Planning Board to order here on March 30th, 2021 at 4:40 p.m. We are meeting remotely because of the pandemic over Zoom. We will therefore have a roll call, a call of attendance. The meeting is being recorded on Zoom. Is anybody else planning to record this meeting? Okay. In which case, hello? All right, okay. So I'll do a roll call attendance.
Michael, I was just commenting that I'm not recording. Once is enough.
Okay. Well, of course, it's perfectly okay for people to record. Apparently, they just have to announce it so everyone knows. Well, at least that's my understanding. So we'll do an attendance. Lynn Reynolds,
Present.
Jane Dutcher,
Present.
Alan Genovese,
Present.
David Young,
Here.
and Mike Naughton here. And we are waiting on Michelle Geruso. First order of business is to approve the minutes. Let's start with March 2nd, which is the ones that Jane produced. And I did send around a couple of suggested corrections. One typo, and the other one was just, I thought, rather than just say, well, you can find this online, I thought if we had a link, which I'm not sure we did, we certainly didn't at the meeting because we hadn't finished yet. But by the time I looked at the minutes, there was a link. So I thought, well, let's put the link in the minutes. And that way, if someone wants to try to follow it, if assuming things stay there forever, which I'm sure they will, people can find them. So those were my suggestions. Anybody else have anything?
Thought the rest look good.
Okay, I agree. I think they look very good. In which case, I will entertain a motion to accept them or approve them.
Oh
So
my,
moved.
Okay,
Second.
so sounds like David moved and Lynn seconded.
yes.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? We'll do a roll call again. Lynn Reynolds,
Aye.
Jane Dutcher,
Aye.
Alan Genovese,
Yes.
David Young,
Aye.
and Mike Naughton, aye. So that's unanimous. Okay. And we'll move on to March 9th, which Michelle did. I kind of like to wait and see if she comes before we approve her minutes, just because I also suggested some changes there. So why don't we skip over that for now, and we can start talking about the next item on the agenda, which is the property condition assessments that we got from Gil Montague. And maybe we should start by noting that, as you may know, it was in Alan's letter for tomorrow's meeting that our request for facilities reports as a deliverable from our grant was denied. Alan and Joanne, after discussion, and Alan, feel free to chime in if you want, but basically, the feeling was that number one, those reports would cost a fair amount of money and might therefore limit the other things that we could do with the grant. And number two, Gilmonte, who's already in the process of doing them for the Gilmonte district. And the feeling was that Pioneer should do the same for the Pioneer district, and that's how it should happen. So rather than try to pay for it and get it done through the grant, we should pursue that information some other way. So I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Alan, or if that pretty much sums it
No,
up.
that was a good, yeah, that was a good summary. We had it in. Joanne, is in the process of doing that. She said, so she brought it up. I have a lot of confidence in her. She said, it's costing us like $7,500 a pop. And, if they do a few of those, you're not gonna have a lot of money left. And so she said, if Pioneer doesn't do it, I think the towns do it anyways for the elementary schools, but so it'd be the middle school, high school, the Pioneer would have to do. But if we get down to that layer, we could have a focus grant for, I'll call it a cleanup grant for specific things that we hadn't gotten, and it doesn't look we're going to, and then and go after those things. There may be some things on the education side as well as the finance side, but anyways, it didn't seem prudent to include that for now. If we can get the deliverables you asked for in the other scope of sequence, that would be great. The other thing is they in conversations with her, she pointed out a couple things that we talked about that got added in. One of them was she thought it would be a fairly easy job for the consultants to with the districts, giving them the salary schedules for both districts and telling them where people are educationally in step, that they should be able to come up with a proposed salary schedule for the staff. That's something obviously they'd be very interested in. No one can lose money when you're doing something like that. So it seemed like a really good piece of information to find out what would that look like. And also what came up was the health, the dental and health insurance for active employees and retirees that look at the plans that both districts have and then come up with a recommendation or a couple recommendations that would look at comparable benefits and what that cost would be. Again, to just at least get a ballpark of what those two expenses are, and would be of great interest to the staff. So so other than that, the scope and sequence is how you guys put it together. And Joanne, we got it on a crunch time where I went in to talk to her on Tuesday, and she informed me she was going on vacation, and we went over started going over some of the things in the grant, and she said I needed to get it to her by Wednesday. So I worked on it on Tuesday and Wednesday, and Greg joined, and we worked until almost 11 o'clock night and sent it out so that she could get it out and get it back and make an award before she went
Wow.
on to be able to get that ready. So then Friday came, and she called me in the morning a little bit in a panic. She's like, where is the RFQ or the RFP? And I said, what do you mean? We stayed up until 11 o'clock getting it to you. So there was a glitch. It was sent, she was looking for Greg's, email, and he sent it under the other one, and she was hunting all around spam and other places. So I called Greg and said, how did you send it to her? And he says, I'm looking at it right here. So we figured out the glitch. When I called her back, she had found it. So then we spent another hour or so on the phone on Friday so she could get it out the door. And otherwise, I would have reached out and had conversation. So she was able to get it out the door so that she can get it back, allow the 14 days that she needs to, get it back on April 9th, make an award. And then we have our meeting on April 13th. And hopefully, that will be with the consultants. And I don't know. I think she said, you may have received the number of, who she sent it to. But I think there were like eight people or eight people interested, or 8 or 9. And that,
We did get a list of people
yeah,
that she sent.
okay,
it to.
so, it's 3 separate proposals. So each one was written independent of itself. So one for the transportation, one for education, and one for finance. And because the idea will be that the consultants will work directly with the 2 subcommittees. And then the subcommittees will, let us know what you're doing. And then David and I and the P&R committee will keep that information and keep releasing updates on the progress and the work that you're doing, to give people a heads up of what to expect, or what task you just finished. So I'm anticipating that once that starts, after the April 13th meeting, I'm not really planning on having any more full committee meetings, because your time's going to be pretty valuable. And once you have your first meeting with the consultants and map out what needs to be done, you can develop a timeline and then keep track of where you are in the progress and the accomplishment of those things, so that sometime in June, we can then bring everybody together in a full meeting and do any cleanup we have to before the consultants start working on their report, which we'll probably get in August or late July. David, you had your hand up. Did you have a question? I'm sorry, I gave a quick kind of a review of the whole thing.
Well, at the time, it wasn't clear to me whether it was Desi or the Gil Montague business manager who was making who said no. And I'm getting the feeling it was Gil Montague business manager.
Yeah, well, I don't want to, I mean, I was in the conversation, obviously, because she said, listen, do you really want to do this? It's going to take up your money. And so we had a conversation around it. I don't want to put it all on her that, no, I refuse to do that. She ultimately goes under her. It made a lot of sense to me, David, that, if we start spending that money on that. Oh, I see someone coming in. So I will accept responsibility.
I would just argue
for
that we ought to do
some good
something
reasons.
superficial. I think we ought to be doing something superficial in that regard, or we're going to plow ahead. We could plow ahead, then only to find out, oh, geez, this facility has this, known. I mean, the Pioneer building, one of the things it's campus, one of the things it's got is 3 mobile classrooms that, it was a big deal that we had to take down. It's going to be a demolition bill, something high level in terms of what the conditions are, should be part of the analysis. And saying, oh, Pioneer should do this. Yeah, Pioneer's really seriously bought into this process of the 6 towns. Yeah, right. And it's not going to happen. You can ask Jane. Jane knows a lot about Bernston Elementary School.
Well, the
here's
elementary
my
schools will be
question.
done.
Here's my question. What the reports that we have seen from Gil Montague are on their elementary buildings and their administration building, not on the high school. And we have discussed in this group that the elementary schools should most likely remain the responsibility of the towns. So what we needed in this report was the 2 middle school, high school buildings, which are each, by comparison, fairly new, and therefore ought to be easier to write up, to do the walkthroughs and to do the write-ups. I think the reports that Gil Montague got are excellent. I don't have a lot of experience in the building trades, but I do have some. So I thought they were excellent starting points, and I thought we were not going to be using the administration building at Gil Montague in any new district.
Well, let me say, number one, Gil Montague isn't done. They intend to get a report for the middle school, high school, and also the Gil Elementary School.
Now,
So
is the school, I'm sorry, is the school district paying for these?
The town of Montague paid for the 2 that they have received so far, because they're town of Montague buildings.
Right.
And my understanding is that Gill is going to pay for the Gill Elementary School, and the district is going to pay for the district in some form. I mean, sometimes the district comes back to the towns and says, we have a capital request.
Right.
And I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work. But the district's responsibility will be the middle school, high school. So Gilmonte intends to have reports for all the buildings, and I don't know their timeline. I can try to find out.
Well,
But I
you've
think,
adapted your budget for the year, so it probably isn't in this year's budget.
well, yeah, I'm not sure what their plan is, and if they have, as I say, capital requests for the town. But I thought that today, one thing we might do, and Jane, you've already started this, is to just talk about those reports in terms of, is that what we're looking for? Or however we get them. And I think we should just table the question of how we get those reports. Is that the sort of report we want to get? Because I had a chance to look through them, and I'd like to hear Lynn and Michelle and Alan chime in too on this. I thought they looked pretty good, although it did seem like they could have used some proofreading, at least the ones I was looking at.
I suppose
There were some odd things in there that I thought, look, almost like somebody was dictating to something that turns your voice into words, and then never went back and checked. I don't know. But the other thing I noticed was we had talked a certain amount about things like technological capability in terms of, what sort of Wi-Fi, internet access, or whatever capabilities there are. And I didn't see any of that. So I wasn't, for what it was, it seemed very good, but it also, I mean, they did basically visual inspections of the buildings, and they looked at the reports, and they talked to the facilities managers. And that was all very good, but it wasn't the whole list of what we had asked for. And that may or may not be a problem, but that was my reaction. So.
Well, you're right that it wasn't in there, but if you read the scope of the report and what they say they're going to do, it wouldn't include that, because that couldn't be a visual inspection.
Right. Oh, I understand. But on the other hand, that's what we said we wanted those things. So I'm just saying now, if we say, I mean, are we happy with what we got? Is the Gilmonte are the reports that we received from Gilmonte everything we're looking for, and we're happy and we don't want more on those buildings, or not? And again, I'm leaving aside the question of, if the answer is no, they're not, how are we going to get more? I just thought, since that's our main agenda item, maybe we should nail down whether those reports are basically what we're looking for, and we're going to be happy if we can get that, or if they're a piece of what we're looking for, but we also want to get other things, and we need to get, figure out how to do that. And David, you got your hand up.
With respect to the facilities assessment, I look at it in the same way I would an environmental project. And all I want at this point, I'm not buying the house. Maybe I should be looking at it as if we're buying the house. But I want a phase 1 assessment, which is largely historical and documents, although sometimes it's easier to walk around and read the plate on the boiler than to find a document that describes what's going on. But that overview then, would say there's no known problems, but not a deep dive. But I don't think we should just walk away from that either. So the documents that Gilmonte is producing have a lot more information in them than I personally would be looking for, but I don't like being blown off on it with respect to Pioneer. They are relatively, so on technology, it could be, there is gigabit fiber connectivity to the building, or there's 10 gigabit fiber connectivity to the building, or there's, whatever it is. It doesn't have to dive down into what the components are installed in the building. They're junk in 5 years anyway. So I just think to look away, we're either assuming something or not interested in, whether there's any vulnerabilities or deficiencies at Pioneer or at Gilmontague when thinking about very possibly combining on one campus. Be bad to get very far into it and then find out, oh, whoa.
Right.
But on the other hand, we've got a
maybe
timeline. This is such light work that we don't have to change the scope. I think we can get it done within it with a negotiation.
David, just to clarify, what are you suggesting we might be looking away from? The
Well,
basic,
if we're waiting on Pioneer, we're assuming that we want an assessment of the Pioneer building done like the GM towns are doing. I'm not sure it needs to be that deep a dive in the first place, but if we're thinking Pioneer is going to pay for it, I think we're kidding ourselves. So then it's not going to get done, which means we're looking away from that issue. I'm saying let's skim over it and let's see what we learn at a very basic level, but let's not look away. Pioneer's not going to pay for this.
well, I mean, okay, other,
That's
I wonder what Building and Grounds would say to that. I wonder if someone approached the Pioneer Building and Grounds Subcommittee and said, what you really ought to have is an overview of what this building has, doesn't have, needs, and what's broken or almost broken. You ought to have that in your pocket to work with. I wonder what they would say. I mean, I've been to Building and Grounds meetings for years, and I'm appalled and always have been. We'll have a walkthrough of such and such a building, and we walk down the hall, and this is the library, and this is the first grade room, and this, oh, here's the boiler room. Now, we haven't had any boiler problems for the last week and a half, so let's go on. They're just ridiculous.
So David, you're going to be on the Building and Grounds, or you are on the Building and Grounds. I don't know, or you could let Julie know you want to be on it. And,
I don't
the
think
director
that-
of facilities, you could have a conversation, say, here's what you're interested in. I don't have that list in front of me, but it sounded to me that the things you were asking for weren't the kind of things that were in the report that you got. So it seems to concur with what Mike said. But if it's a cursory view of, what's the age of the boiler and what's it look like, and I don't know. I think you might want to have that conversation with the consultant when the consultant comes on and see what kind of horse trading or what specifically you're looking for. But I would hope the Building and Grounds Subcommittee, working with the Building and Grounds Director, have a pretty good handle on this. And if they don't, then they need to. And like I said, there's nothing that says that some more specific grant can't be written as a follow-up, because we're not going to, even though this is fairly comprehensive now, we're taking a deeper dive. There's going to be specific issues that we're going to want to dive into more. But that's my 2 cents. I did, we did $42,000, and it seemed like the other things, I'm not saying it wasn't important, but it just looked like it was going to take a lot of money to get the things that you were looking for. That was the opinion given to me.
well, and there may be other ways to get them. I'm sure there are other ways to get them. And there was a cursory overview in the report that we received. So we do have a start, right? And that came, I believe that came from the consultants talking with the facilities managers at the 2 middle school, high schools.
There's been some energy audits and assessments. Northfield and Warwick brought Green Communities money to Pioneer, and in the process, there were a lot of assessments. And even though they were focused on energy, they tend to unearth underlying problems that are mechanical or structural or a lot of issues. So just again, the existing documents, I think to the consultants would be helpful.
Okay,
Now, in these times, considering what kind of energy consumption a building's going to have is an important consideration, or what you have to make for inputs to correct things.
well, let me ask you this. I mean, what about,
David, Mike, do you want to make note that Michelle came on and joined the meeting? And I don't know what time she did that, but you have,
yeah, she came
Or-
out
She's been here a while.
53.
I've been here.
53.
Okay, I'm gonna,
Yes, what, I should do that.
Hold on.
all right, wait a minute.
she's an alien.
All done at the speed of light.
Yeah. She's an
Wait.
alien. She just beat me down, Scotty.
Any other suggestions, Alan?
There she is.
Oh. I'm here.
Yes, welcome,
Sorry,
Michelle.
I was having technical difficulties with my laptop. So I got on with my iPad and then it was an echo. All right. I'm here.
Okay, well, welcome, Michelle. And we did pass over the March 9th minutes because they're the ones you produced. We'll get back to those.
Oh, that's all right.
But I'd like to follow up on the suggestion of asking somehow contacting the Pioneer Buildings and Grounds Subcommittee and just seeing what we can get from them, which may be nothing, but never hurts to ask, right?
David, you should be able to pull some strings on that, David. You have a
Oh,
lot
I
of
have all
knowledge.
kinds of
now
weight on
about
that
building
committee.
ground.
I have all kinds of weight on that committee. I'll suggest we don't do a damn thing in that regard, and it might happen.
Hey,
But no, you have a lot of knowledge now.
I'd be most,
I think you should ask Kevin for any reports that he has that have been produced in the last couple of years on conditions and of the high school, middle school building, or any that he
well,
inherited.
good news is Kevin is a HVAC guy,
Yeah,
which is
right.
helpful. And but I'm going to spend my political capital on getting some ventilation, some understanding of ventilation, because when I questioned that matter in the pandemic, when we were planning to buy
Mhm.
filters and such, I was told, we don't want to spend all our money on that. We'll just, use what we have to make things better. But opening a window, it amounts to the ventilation available in some areas.
Yes, which turns up the heat bill.
Oh, concern.
Well,
I'd
so
like to ask Kevin what he has.
I was going to ask for a volunteer to ask somebody. See, I think
I'll
I'll
send
tell
him
you.
an email and ask him if he has any assessments of the building or any of its parts.
And just to clarify, who is Kevin?
Facilities director at Pioneer,
Okay,
or
Okay,
for
good.
Pioneer.
just for the minutes.
Yeah, it's Kevin Siemens, SEAMANS.
Okay, Lynn, did you have something?
Yes, so I'm feeling a little bit how to say, uninformed. So the thing is, it appears that Pioneer has no money for anything. They can't even fix their expense. They have no money, I guess, to do the kind of assessment that Gil Montague is doing. Now, is this a political no-no to say, okay, you don't have the money, perhaps our grant should pay for your assessment? Kind of bring me up to speed in terms of the politics of doing that.
As a layperson, not a committee member, I don't think it's anything they considered to put into the budget.
Sure.
I mean, why?
I don't-
I'd be reluctant to say it's a no-no. We haven't asked yet.
They have not passed a budget, and their meetings do seem very, I hate to use the word political, but for want of something better, contentious.
Okay.
You're getting
They certainly
warm.
have their divisions. They certainly have
How
their
common-
divisions.
How common is it for Pioneer to ask the towns for capital projects or basically money above and beyond their budget for specific purposes?
There's usually a
and
capital
beyond the
project
assessment.
or two. every year.
Yearly, they have capital.
It's
Because
small
it seems
sometimes.
to me
sometimes
that, I mean, I'm just sort of thinking out loud here, but it occurs to me that the suggestion that Pioneer ought to have some sort of evaluation of the condition of their building seems fairly reasonable. I mean, if you were to go to the facilities manager and say, do you have one? And he says, no, we can walk around and take a look, but that's the best I can do. Is that something that the towns might be concerned about? And where I'm going is, rather than assuming that Pioneer has to somehow find the money in their assessments to do some sort of a study, if they really can't do that, and I don't know, that's, but let's say they can't, they say, no, there's absolutely no way, we don't have enough money to do all the other things, we can't do that. Would it be feasible to then say, well, okay, how about making this a special project? Because the towns might be interested in saying, let's find out if the facilities manager doesn't have some document that, or isn't in a position to work with someone to produce a document that describes the condition of this building that costs us a lot of money and requires ongoing maintenance, then maybe we should get one somehow and we should pay for it. There should be a separate project that gets done. I mean, that's essentially what's happening with Gil Montague.
All right,
They're
so
not
I'm
paying
gonna-
for it out of their
Well,
assessment
I
budget.
think the problem here is that we're too far along in the budgeting process.
Yeah.
Okay, so it couldn't happen for FY22, you're saying?
Correct.
Although,
So
now, do you
there's-
guys have
yeah,
special
there's a
town
whole-
meetings? I mean, if it can't come to an
There's a
annual,
way that you can get this information.
Well, it seems it worthwhile then to make the inquiry, if that seems
I mean,
not.
maybe that's, yeah, maybe that's the place to start is
Right.
to, I mean, we're making a lot of assumptions that people won't want to do it and nobody has any information, and maybe we should find out what is available.
So
Do I have a
Michelle,
Mike,
volunteer?
you guys have-
I think having, I don't know, I must have a bad connection. I think, Mike, that making the inquiry is a good idea, but there's ways that you can get that information. When I had limited money and was looking at what are conditions of things, I had my director of facilities contact a couple of vendors to come in and say, I don't know about this boiler. How long is it going to last? What are you thinking? And they've come in pro bono because they'd like to line up and get some work, and they do an assessment and they write it and say, hey, this thing's got about 5 years left, because they want to get their foot in the door of bidding, and there's not a lot of people out there that are putting these things in. So basically you'd get 1 or 2 people to come in and do that. You put out, and then I said to him, okay, I got that information. Can you do the, I'm concerned about the heating ventilation system, what's that look like? Should we be cleaning things out? Yada, yada, yada. Can you get me an appraisal? Someone comes in and they look, tell you what needs to be done. They write up a report. I've gotten a lot of that stuff free. The only time I had to pay for it in a big way was when I was doing a building project, and SBAB requires, that you have a certified engineer, come in and that costs a ton of money, but it's all part of their process to have a whole systems review. We don't have to do that. But I believe just being creative, you can get that information. And maybe someone
David?
needs to have a conversation with the superintendent. I'd be glad to do that.
So, but the Heart Committee, which was a kind of forerunner to this in a way, got money from Community Compact with Northfield and Warwick. Michelle, what do you guys got going in Community Compact these days?
I just got a $17,500 Community Compact grant. I mean, there is money out there. I got it for the town. Maybe, yeah, you're right. The 4 towns should get together at Pioneer.
Yeah, it doesn't even take all 4. In my experience, it doesn't even take all 4. But so we
No,
might be able to
we've
get
done
this
2.
information as a side deal.
Right. Yeah, it's a good idea.
And to what Alan was saying about vendors, yeah, when Jonathan got some solar outfit in there that was going to do a canopy on the parking lot, some kind of assessment of the load in the building was made in this, and there are underlying assumptions. And when the Green Communities work was scoped out, there was assessment done of various systems and all those, I'm saying, all those existing documents. We don't even have to terribly abuse, we find out what we're lacking and can abuse a couple vendors in that regard and get some more information.
But I think we should ask Kevin what he has first.
Yep.
And I'd be glad to ask him that.
Perfect.
Okay,
I will also
And
ask him if I need to ask John, if we need to ask John, or if he can give it to us.
I mean, one question might be whether John is actually willing to help get some of this information, if it does involve calling vendors. Oh,
Well, I don't think we need to go there. I think our first step is to request what they have available, if they will share it with us. And then we'll move from there.
okay. Well, that sounds good.
All right.
That sounds good. Anything else? Is that it?
So just quick question, Mike.
Yes.
In your review of these reports from Gil Montague, you say you saw that there were some pieces missing that you would have liked to have seen. In the rest of the aggregate of looking at that, do you feel that the ground has been pretty well covered in terms of the rest of what would be needed to know?
To be honest, I didn't think too hard on that, Lynn.
Okay.
I'm hoping that other people will take the lead in this area. And so I basically looked through them because I thought, well, I can't just not look at them. And I was curious to kind of get the big picture. But in terms of really evaluating what was there, I hoped other people would be better able to do it than I am. And I've sort of been focusing on the financing Chapter 70 local contribution side of things. And it's a whole world in which I don't feel like I'm an expert. I don't particularly want to become an expert. And I thought, let's hope somebody else out there wants to do it. So
I have to confess that I just saw and downloaded these things, so I'll look at them and see what I think.
I mean, I think that David makes a good point that, you know, there's a lot of information we theoretically could get.
Yeah.
But how much do we really want if we get kind of a general overview of the building?
Okay.
I mean, obviously a lot of what we're doing is predicting the future, what's going to be necessary in the future. And that's always kind of a crapshoot anyway. And there's no way we can guarantee that we're going to know what will happen or won't happen. So, you know, maybe those reports, even as they are overkill, and we don't need that much. Really, they're giving us too much. But like I say, I just soon have other people think about it and talk about it, and before, you know, I'll listen carefully and hope to learn something.
Okay.
Jane?
Yes, I think they were quite thorough for the type of report they are. I think they gave lots of points at which you could take off and do a deeper dive. If I lived in Montague, I'd be alarmed about some of the stuff I'm reading. But I think they're a beginning, and I think that's the way they should be looked at. And when we get the report on the high school and whatever we can get from Pioneer, we should look at starting points and what do we need to build on. We don't need to do a real deep dive until we really know that we're going to combine and that we're going to use one building for one thing and the other building for another thing, but whatever thing it is. We only need to go superficially to see if we think that's the best financial thing to do. We're not the ones deciding the educational thing. We're talking about the financial end of it. And reading that report on the administration building over there, I'm hearing the word replacement screaming in my head all the while I'm reading it.
Right.
So, you know, those are the kinds of things I think we want to get from these reports. This is a good building block. Let's fix this one. This isn't such a good building block. What should we do about it? Sorry.
I agree with Jane. We don't, I mean, we know that we added on to Pioneer, and, you know, we know what we did at Pioneer in, I don't know how many years ago it was now.
97.
And then we need to compare the buildings, the longevity, you know, like if Kevin has information about the boilers, the roof, the building blocks of it. And the content, you know, that's up in the air. So I thought they were good reports, but they may have been too much, like David said too, you know, because then it scares you.
Well, I don't think that they exaggerated the condition. They certainly backed up all of the condition statements that they mentioned with pictures.
Yeah, that's true.
They are old buildings. They're, you know, really old. But it just, to me, it also proved a point. I constantly complaining that Pioneer doesn't put enough money into maintenance of buildings or enough time into maintenance. It's the first thing to get cut. And as I read through those reports, I thought, wow, great. Pioneer isn't the only one.
Oh, no. I think it's a common practice.
I do too. I think they want the towns to pick it up.
Especially those roofs.
Yeah. Well, and I think that I think Joanne's plan is to use those reports to make a capital plan to take to the towns.
Right.
And say, here you go. And so I think she's actually trying to get a handle on things in a way that perhaps previous administrations have not tried to do. But yeah, there's some good stuff in those buildings and there's some not so good stuff in those buildings. And we put a lot of money into those buildings over the years.
Mhm.
But, you know,
I believe.
on the other
Yeah.
hand, we can put, clearly there are opportunities to put in more.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jane, you're going to follow up with Kevin. And then I guess I'm wondering, we have to be careful about, I mean, individuals could do whatever they want outside of meetings. And on the other hand, I don't want anyone to get sort of overwhelmed here.
With what?
Well, with trying to get a bunch of stuff done. I was wondering if there was a way that you could, like, ask David for help or something, or Michelle for help if you felt you needed it, contacting people or something.
I think we should just do the one thing.
Okay,
Yeah, I do too.
If we start coming at this from 6
Mm.
different angles, we'll be in trouble.
Yep.
Let's just ask Kevin, and if he says, and I will ask him, I will say, do you want me to ask John? Or I'll just see
okay,
John on the email.
okay. Well, why don't you go ahead and do that and let me know, because I guess the question is, what will the next step be after you collect whatever you collect, or find out whatever you find out? And I'm wondering shall I leave it up to you to decide?
Open your
if what
email.
needs to-
If,
Pardon?
Open your email and you'll find something quite germane. And I think if I spend about a half hour searching my emails back to 2014, when I started on the school committee, there's a UMass Energy report on Pioneer from 2017.
Mm.
Okay, I'm not seeing it yet, but I believe you.
Jane, you might want to
It might-
ask
Well,
if they have a.
Well, I guess
capital-
where I'm going is, at some point, this subcommittee will need to meet again, but I want to have a purpose for doing that. And I'm wondering if what Jane is offering to do is going to, lead to the need for another meeting. And if so, what the best way to determine that is.
if Kevin sends me any reports, I will share them.
Okay,
As I'm sure
Okay.
David's going to share everything he finds in his, how many years of emails? I know, let's see, I think it was 2007, they did a deep dive on the boiler systems over there.
okay. Which makes it 14 years old, right?
Right,
13 years old, but
but if that's what they had then how did they fix anything and what did they fix?
right.
And see
why
if they
don't
have a
we-
capital improvement plan.
Well,
Could ask that.
you can ask that question.
Okay.
I-
I'll ask John. I'll add on. I'd like to see the capital improvement plan that you have, and yeah, I'll follow that up.
Yeah, we used to get from the school district a sheet that said, this is a capital, and this is the capital project that we think you should support this year. This is what we have on the list for next year and for the following year after that. It went out at least 3 years. They didn't always progress to the top. It wasn't knock the top one off and do the next one. Didn't really work that way, but it was a projection. And we would get it for the high school and each town would get it for their elementary school. We haven't seen that in several years.
Okay,
So I don't think they have a forward-looking capital plan, at least not that I've seen as finance chair.
Lynn, would you like to follow up with Joanne and just find out the timing on when the rest of the reports are supposed to come?
I'll be glad to do that.
Great. I think that'll, I'm thinking that may cover the bases on the facility side of things for the moment. And once we gather all that information, we can see where we want to go from there.
Oh, I think this is pretty comprehensive, Dave. I'm reading the email just on that energy. So yeah, if Jean could get a couple of these, we could put them together.
Okay.
It's all energy consumption by buildings. I mean, you know, it's a lot on energy, but
Well, because that's who did it.
right, right. So you have,
It's
yeah,
supposed to be an energy report. This was a requirement for the Green Committee money that they were going after. They had to have this evaluation done.
well, there you go. One, there's one evaluation.
Well,
I
that's,
tell you what, Lynn, you want to add that to your list for Joanne? See if they've had, I wouldn't be surprised if they've had something similar done.
Okay, so ask for an energy audit.
Well, just see what if they've had one done. And if so, yeah, could we get a copy?
these are all the
Well, we
things
haven't-
that Warwick and Northfield did with the green
Yes.
money, right, David?
Oh,
So these are completed
Mhm.
projects,
Yeah, I wouldn't.
We haven't,
at least as far as the high school is concerned.
but I'm not clear that we've really resolved the issue about the building assessment reports from Pioneer, other than to see what their person Kevin
Mhm.
has. So start with that and then proceed in terms of what he says to us. Is that my understanding of where we are with
That's
this?
my understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what we've done is say, let's start with that and see where we are.
Okay, good. All right.
Well,
I'm
and except that
yeah.
Alan is going to ask John for a capital improvements report or capital projects, a 5-year plan, right?
capital plan.
And remind me who John is?
John's, is it schedule or scale?
The superintendent at
Okay.
PVRS. And I always mispronounce
know.
his name.
It's supposed
Just
to
think of the
be
word schedule.
schedule.
Schedule. You're gonna schedule a meeting?
So
Yeah.
it's
Schedule.
Schedule, okay.
schedule, okay. Well, it's nice to pronounce
I
people's
will-
names
This is
correctly.
what I'm going to say to Kevin. That I'm a member of the 6th Town Committee, and we're talking about the condition of all of the facility, all of the buildings that are in the 2 districts. And what reports might you have on the condition of the facilities at PVRS, including systems analyzed and reviewed, especially electrical, heating, plumbing? Okay?
And maybe use the word assessment of these buildings, because conditions mean one thing. And then an overall assessment, in my sense, would be perhaps more comprehensive in terms of getting a clear picture of all of it.
So facilities assessment instead of evaluation?
Maybe slash, because I think I like your word of evaluation too.
You didn't like the word condition, right, Lynn?
Well, it just seemed a little narrow.
Okay,
You're right. If you ask someone's condition, they'll say, yeah, it's really poor. And that's it. If you ask for their assessment, then they have to think.
Okay. For facilities evaluation / assessment, including systems analyzed and reviewed, such as heating, electrical, plumbing,
etc.
Yeah,
Roof-
whatever,
yeah,
right?
Roof,
I mean,
you know,
do you
or
think, do you think
building.
he's gonna, push back, or do you think he'll be open to just giving
well,
you what he's got?
I'll make it sound a little bit more polite and begging than what I just read to you, but the body of it will be that. Um, You know,
Yeah,
Because
how's
we're
my-
probably interested in knowing what he has, right? And then
right,
Yeah.
it may or may not,
do you
I
have
just
these?
found that sometimes if you list things out for people, they think, oh, that's all they're looking for. When,
Yeah, well, we'll see. Let's see what he says to me and where we have to go from there. I don't want to ask for the whole town. I want to start with one street at a time here.
okay. Well, that sounds good. Other
This is
thoughts?
great.
I think we're making progress here. It, other thoughts, or do we feel that this will keep us happy until we get the results of this?
as we go along.
Well, I have a question about the bidding process on the grant. Joanne will decide on the awards for that.
That's an Alan question.
Yeah, the Gil Montague district is the one putting the RFP out, and so they'll respond to her. They have questions. They'll call and ask her, and if she doesn't have the answer, she'll call me. But I hope it's pretty simple, that it's pretty clear cut, that she finds her responsible and bidder that looks like they can do the job at the best price. If we get a tie or something, she may then say, geez, do we want to have a subcommittee to look at this a little further and make a decision? But I'm going to go from the perspective of it's going to be who can get the job done at the best price, and she'll
Well,
make the decision.
we're stuck with low bidder.
Are you?
Well, aren't we? I mean, if you don't want to choose a low bidder when you're having a process like this, you got to have real good justification for skipping over them.
Well, you use the word qualified, responsible and qualified, and when you're looking for someone qualified, that gives you more leeway.
Right.
Oh, good. Okay. Because you want to be able to at least have some kind of sense of who these people are. Because I'll never forget the situation up in Greenfield with that middle school and the nightmares with that. We don't deserve that.
No. Well, and I think that was the case of a low bid.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, this is not, I don't know what that involved, if that was, an SBA, bidding process. This is not that comprehensive. It's under 50,000 for each one of these. And let's see, I mean, I hope we get 3 separate consultants. But, I'm sure maybe some of them will bid on the whole thing, or 2 out of the 3, we'll see.
Okay.
But I'm gonna have confidence in Joanne. I don't need to come in and try to do her work for her. Unless she has a problem, then I'm gonna let her do her job.
And it sounds like she's experienced in doing this kind of thing from what I'm getting.
I think she's very good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do too.
I agree.
Yeah, I think we're all impressed with her.
So do we have more on facilities? We should probably move on to approve the March 9th meeting minutes before it gets too much later.
Yeah, and Mike, I'm gonna have to, I'll have to leave in a little bit because I have a policy subcommittee meeting coming up right after this, so I gotta look at
Okay.
a few other
Well,
things. So just
lucky
to
you.
let you know if I sign out, it's not that I decided I'm quitting.
Okay, thank you, Alan.
Okay,
I have a 6:30 meeting, so.
okay. Well, I'd like to definitely not go past 6 o'clock and if we can avoid it.
I think we're pretty
I'll
good.
make a motion to approve Michelle's minutes as corrected.
Okay. The main thing there, Michelle, was I just thought it'd be better to include the names of the documents. My thought always
Didn't I
is,
send that to you? I did. I redid it and sent that to you.
did you?
Yeah, I sent it to everyone. Didn't you get it?
The one I looked at didn't have the names.
Okay,
Dave,
so
did you get it?
If you did, you did. I sent one around
Oh,
today where I put the
okay.
names in.
All right, that's fine.
But well, thank you for doing
Maybe
that.
I
I'm
never
sorry.
hit send.
I did not, I don't remember seeing it, but that
Sometimes I forget to hit send.
these days.
You never know.
Well, yeah, that was
I'm
it. Other than
managing
that, they
5
look great.
emails, so.
March 22 at 6:56.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Further discussion?
Does everybody see the email with the corrections?
I see both of them. Michelle, I did find the one that you sent with corrections.
Yeah, on
And I-
322.
On
Yes,
322.
And then Mike added,
Oh, he added more to the names. No, I put,
what he added to that, I don't have up. He added so that you could just click on them and go to the minutes on the website.
okay. I didn't, okay. I misunderstood. All right.
Oh, wait, no, well, I'm not sure I did that.
No, I don't see it.
Okay, I don't see anything from Michelle on 322.
Let's see.
6:56 PM. it came
Yeah.
in.
Yep, that's
To
right.
Mike, Tracy, Lynn, and David,
Well.
and me. It probably went to your junk file and you deleted it.
Well,
Yeah, Lynn's right.
I'm not
That was
kidding.
it.
I
Lynn's
check
right.
my
That was
junk
the time.
file every day and find stuff that should not be in there.
That's all right, Mike.
oh, wait a minute. Well, I see one from 322. It says, I don't see any attachment. It just says, thanks for your input.
No, at the bottom, it was attached. Well, if Lynn got it,
Well,
maybe you deleted it.
I can
That's all
forward this to everybody.
I have it.
Oh, good.
Where are you?
well, if it has the names of the documents, then I'm happy.
Yeah.
Well, I'm checking. Okay, let me get this other one.
Oh, wait, here's another one. I'm sorry.
I did it so fast you weren't expecting it.
You're very fast, Michelle.
Okay, I just forwarded it to Mike.
Okay, actually, I did find it. It just opened up for me here. Let's see.
Well, it doesn't matter which one we accept, so.
Well, no, Michelle's, yours looks good. Because you probably made some other changes too, right?
Yes, she did.
Okay. Well, I'd say let's consider that version that you sent around. And do we have any further discussion?
Do you want to have the link to the report put in there? And the grant deliverables, you know, that's the big difference that you made, was adding those links in there.
Right.
Okay, I'm not sure how we did that. I didn't know I was doing that. I just had the original, and I thought I looked at it and I thought, oh well,
Okay,
I'll go
maybe
ahead and add the names and put them in.
I take it back. It's not a link, it's just the name.
Oh.
Sorry.
I think I just put them in red. So,
Yeah, because they were in red, I thought they were links.
oh yeah, no, that was just
Yeah,
formatting.
easy to fool me.
So, no, good. Well, no, that I think what Michelle did looks great. So, any further discussion?
Nope.
All in favor? Roll call vote. Lynn Reynolds, Jane Dutcher, Alan Genovese,
Yes.
David Young,
Yes.
Michelle Giruso,
Yes,
Mike Naughton, aye. Okay, unanimous. Thank you very much, Michelle.
you're welcome.
And I apologize for missing that.
That's all right.
I get too many emails sometimes.
You make it,
Mm,
Okay, so Jane and Michelle, you will get the final copies to actually, how about if you send the final copies? Michelle's already done it, send it to me. But now I know where it is. And Jane, if you want to send a final copy that just doesn't say draft, then I can actually post them on the website. We'll save Greg a little work.
okay.
Okay. I'll make those two corrections and do that.
Okay. And Michelle, maybe I'll just read, I'll put the word final in yours so that it'll be clear that it's the final one.
okay.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else?
Nope.
Okay. Well, just real quick as kind of a heads up. Maybe Alan will talk about this tomorrow, but he and I had a conversation earlier today, and I think what we're looking at in the coming months for our subcommittee, along with working for the consultants, we should be talking with people in our respective towns, getting an idea of what their questions are, what questions they would like to have answered, what information they would like to see provided in what we come up with. And I think we probably ourselves already know the answers to a lot of that, but maybe not all of it. And so talking with select boards, finance committees, I mean, our focus would be on the financial side. I assume things like, well, what's our assessment going to be? But, there may be other questions. So just I just say be thinking about that. Because as Alan said, he doesn't want to have full board meetings. It'll all be handled at the subcommittee level. But one of the things our subcommittee should be doing is making sure that you know, we've tried in our grant request to list the things that we think are going to be necessary, but we should make some effort to confirm with other people in our towns that the information we're coming up with and the tools that we're going to be providing are going to cover the basis of what they'll be looking for. So just something to think about going forward.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else, Alan?
Yeah, and just to go along with that, so one of the things you'll be wanting to do with a consultant is coming up with some essential questions. Working with a consultant, they should have a number of suggestions as to what questions should you be asking them so these are essential questions that you would be using to glean information, and you might want to divide yourselves up and I'll just throw this out there, like, let's say David was working with Warwick and Northfield and finding out finding that with essential questions to glean that from select boards and finance committee or whatever. And maybe Michelle, or Jane does Berniston and Leiden or something. And maybe Len and Mike, you do, Montague and Gill. So you can go off and get that information. So you're not having to have a Zoom meeting every time you want to glean this information. And then Mike, you pull everybody together. You might have a week on if people are doing that. And then the following week, you're pulling everyone together in a Zoom meeting, again, along with the consultants, because they'll need to be, a part of this. Because ultimately we want them to be putting all this information together. You shouldn't be writing the report, but you should be getting the information and the consultants understanding that information so that they eventually can put a presentation together, and then in the summer or early fall, that we put that all together, and then that's when we finally go out to the general public and everybody and share, the education perspective, the finance perspective, from the staff, from the parents, from the students, and so forth. So we're still in a gathering, but it's more gathering now for focus groups that have an interest in finance. If that helps to see the 3,000-foot view.
Yeah.
Comments?
No, I think it's a great idea.
So my plan, Alan's planning to meet the full board on the 13th to meet with the consultants. I'm expecting our subcommittee will have a meeting after that, probably the following Tuesday, because Tuesday seems to be our day. And we can pick things up there unless there's a reason to meet between now and then. So I guess the 13th is a Tuesday, I think.
Yeah, I think it is.
So that would make the following would be the 20th.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday.
Yeah. So yeah, so we could figure on probably meeting on the 20th to I guess maybe that could be our kickoff with whatever consultants we're working with, and we can also follow up on these ideas and figure out where to go from here.
Well, you also could have a meeting on the 6th on Tuesday to have a brainstorming session of what you feel essential questions are to get that process started, and how you plan on using the consultants. You haven't, to my knowledge, you haven't sort of brainstormed what you're thinking and working with them, and how you're going to be working with them, and so that you can hit the ground running when you meet with them. So I don't know, you might have some real specific essential questions that you want to kick around and play with, and see what the consultants think about those and what ideas they will have about what questions you should be asking.
Jane, do you have your hand up?
I have,
Well, I haven't reviewed the RFPs, but I think we should understand what they responded to and how they responded so that we can form our questions and requirements with that framework when we talk to them. So Alan's right. I think we need to meet before we meet with the consultants. So we're not all over the place like we are today.
and you can organize your work. You know, you can maybe, figure out who's going to talk to which towns and how you're going to, how you're going to have subcommittees of the subcommittee. You'll have subcommittees in the data
Okay.
collection.
Well, now do we want to try to meet on the 6th then? Because that's before any of the consultants will have been selected.
I don't think I want to meet on the 6th.
No, that's next week.
That's my birthday.
Okay.
Oh, gee.
Happy
Okay.
birthday.
Unless you're going to sing happy birthday to me and I'll eat cake.
Well, we could probably manage that.
Especially the cake, right, Mike?
Do we have a budget for cake?
Yeah,
Um,
yes, that's why they didn't spend the whole grant. So we can buy cake.
Well, I mean, the following Tuesday is the 13th, and then we're back to the 20th.
Call it.
It's okay. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to do anything on my birthday. We're still in quarantine here.
Well, I guess the question is, well, how do other people feel?
I'm flexible.
Yeah, I'm pretty flexible. I think we do need to come up with questions, though.
Okay,
We
well,
did get
should we,
copies of the RFP, right? And I just didn't read them yet.
Well, that's what I was just going to ask Alan. I don't remember seeing them.
one of
I
Greg's
sent them out
emails.
to, yeah,
Greg's?
In one of
came
Greg's
out.
emails, he sent out the RFQs.
Yeah, look for the email, 6-town regional planning board. So STRPB FTF, because he doesn't, I noticed he's sending it out not under his email anymore. And so you got to be looking for that. But he had all the attachments except for the staff notice that was supposed to be attached as well. So all the RFP should be there. I haven't opened everything up because I had printed them out before, but then Joanne made some changes in our conversation, and then I've been doing a bunch of other stuff. So I'll open them all up and print them all out. My printer's dead, so I got to get some ink and then go from there. But if you
Here it
want to
is.
make sure
Yeah.
you,
The RFQ
If you-
came. Yeah.
yeah, but you might want to make sure you're clear when you look, for example, the tools. I had a conversation with Mike today about, the tools that he's looking for. And, you might want to have a conversation to be very clear on that so that you can explain and be on the same page exactly what you're looking for with a consultant. Hopefully we'll get some people that are interested in developing that. And so there's no misunderstanding about what they think they're developing. It'd be good to have a caption in a meeting and figure that out ahead of time and then review that when you have your meeting with the consultants.
No,
And I still haven't figured out.
Actually, that was only, the one I just opened was only sent to the consultants. That was their emails. I don't see.
You should have 3 separate RFPs. One for transportation, one for facilities, and one for education. And you should have an email with all the people they were sent to. You
Yeah,
had
that
a
I just
follow-up
opened.
email on the town report, the town report, and then
Yeah.
the follow-up with the staff. So you had a bunch.
It was a bunch, right. Annual report. All right, I'll look through all these, but I didn't see it.
But they're
If
coming.
you can't find it, send an email to Greg, but hopefully you
All
get it
right,
before
I'll
the
look
meeting.
through it later. Yep, okay.
All right.
All right.
All right, I'm gonna leave the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Or
everybody,
you
for
can,
your
or you
hard
can
work.
email me, Michelle.
I move to adjourn.
Second,
Second,
Okay, roll call vote, Lynn Reynolds. Jane Dutcher. Alan Genovese,
Yes,
David Young,
yes.
and Michelle Druso.
Aye.
Mike Naughton, aye, and I will set up a meeting for next week.
Okay.
and
Okay,
see y'all tomorrow.
see you all then. Thank you
Okay,
very much.
bye.
Lynn, I will send you a link to the video when I have it.
Okay, thank you.
Good night.